Well, hello and welcome to the Mindful Medics podcast, where we dive into the lives of medical professionals, exploring the triumphs and trials of their careers, and uncover how they have found ways to manage stress, prevent burnout, and thrive, both professionally and personally. Join us as we discover the keys to a balanced, fulfilled life in this crazy, demanding world in which we live. Today, my guest is Dr. Mitrani, a physician scientist passionate about regenerative and preventative approaches to help improve patients' quality of life, and an avid consultant for brands that align with her vision. She co-founded and was the chief scientific officer at Gattaca Genomics, the most advanced pre-implantation genetic testing services for embryos. She co-founded and was the chief scientific officer for Organocell Regenerative Medicine. She was most recently recognized as one of the top 100 healthcare leaders by IFAH for her work spearheading COVID-19 therapeutics. Dr. Mari is an advocate for minorities, women, animals, and other issues that require and demand equality. This has led her to sponsor one of the top vegan events 3 years in a row, the Vegan Women's Summit, as well as participating as a producer for 3 documentaries. So welcome to the Mindful Medics, Dr. Mari Mitrani.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rhodes. Thank you for having me and the invitation.
You are most welcome. We're delighted to have you here. So tell us a little bit about your early life and what inspired you to pursue a career in medicine.
Well, I come from Ecuador, South America, and I was born and raised in a beautiful family where my father pursued his degree in medicine. And early on in his career, he discovered that there was another way to practice medicine. You know, medicine that is taught in universities is very reactive, meaning that we wait until our patients are sick to then act. And early on in his career, he understood that prevention and preventative medicine is the way that it should be done. So one of his first big steps was understanding how nutrition impact his patients. And he's been in practice for over 45 years right now. So nutrition was one of the first things that he implemented. And from there on, he went to explore different techniques and ways of how to heal patients in a way that did not cause any harm. So I was very, very fortunate to be born and raised in this caring and loving family that the practice, what he preached, right? So, from very early on, I've practiced that type of medicine.
Amazing. And where did you study medicine?
In Ecuador. Yeah. So I am Ecuadorian, full blown and raised in Ecuador.
Fantastic. So from medicine, you have had an interesting and somewhat unusual career for somebody who became a doctor. So please share with us a little bit more about the timeline of your career and how you ended up doing all of these fascinating things.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school thinking that I was going to become an OBGYN. That was my passion. I love more natural birthing. I did 7 years of shadowing natural birthing, water birthing, and trying to respect what birthing is. And when I came to internship year, I realized that the hospital life was not my match. And that probably I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. So another passion of mine has always been aesthetic medicine. I was helping my parents with their day clinic in the aesthetic side. I went to explore a little bit of what natural aesthetics, and now kind of coined as anti-aging term. And that brought me into a really nice interaction with physicians that were working with autologous stem cell therapies. Autologous meaning the patient's own body was the donor and the recipient of these stem cell therapies. This is over 18 years ago. As I already graduated and received my PhD, I was studying also acupuncture. And this was very fascinating and interesting. At the time, we set up. My husband is from the U.S. Him and I had worked with a lot of physicians that were working in this anti-aging world. And my father having a clinic in Ecuador, the physicians being from Argentina and Venezuela, we put a concept together and created the first stem cell clinic in Ecuador. So we went through the process of 4 years of understanding what this therapies actually could offer patients, right? Autologous stem cells back then, 18 years ago, was unknown. There was no many things known. It was already advanced in a very early stage, but we got to understand that this therapeutic potential was incredible. So I further pursued then coming back to the United States and actually settling down not only with the autologous source, but then exploring the stem cells a little bit deeper and understanding better sources of stem cells. And this led us to open up a serious research facility. We became a public company and really hone it down into understanding what stem cells can do and what they are and their mechanism of action. I think it was the most important thing that we discovered. So we partnered with different universities, ended up in the COVID pandemic, working actually with the CDC, different universities, and were approved for 5 different INDs, which is the new drug, investigational new drug through FDA, to understand how our drug, this new drug developed from stem cells, can impact the immune system. So if you would have asked me if that's what I wanted to do when I graduated, definitely I would have never thought that was going to happen. But I think that you got to be open to what life throws at you and
Yes.
of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, many of our listeners are in the healthcare field, but some are not. So could you explain, going back to basics, a little bit more about what are stem cells and and what role they play? Because they're a fairly new treatment, and some people may not have really heard of the term stem cells, or that it can be used as a treatment.
Yeah, so the stem cells are these master cells that before we thought only embryos or fetus had, and that once you were born, you didn't have many, they were really few. Now we know that adults have many stem cells rotating and floating as we age also. But stem cells are, as I was saying, these master cells that are undifferentiated. So what does that mean? A cell from the heart, for example, is a muscle cell that is always going to be pumping, right? A cell from the eye is going to change through light. So those are differentiated cells. They're still cells. There are cells with our genetic composition, but they have a specific role in the organ or the tissue. Stem cells are undifferentiated, meaning that they have all of our genetic compound, but they don't have a blueprint of what they have to do until they are designed or somebody tells them what to do, let's say, right? So, but the body has all of these stem cells in niches that are, they are chemically dormant. That's how we describe this stem cell. So it can be in the bone marrow, for example. Then we discover that there's a bunch of them in the adipose tissue or the fat tissue. And as we keep understanding and progressive, we found them there in the pulp of teeth, for example, and so on. So there's stem cells now. We know that there's stem cells everywhere, so much so that the precursors of those are also in the lining of every single vessel. And they're the ones that get like kind of triggered, when we get a cut. And it's a simple analogy, right? When we get a cut, besides the platelets coming to stop the bleeding, also there are the periocytes, the cells that get triggered. So, it's time to repair and reheal. And those get, recruit, they end up in that tissue and they start making new cells. So that's an easy way to put it. There is a lot more physiology into
I'm
it, but
sure. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for doing your best to simplify a very, very complicated concept. And it's just I mean, I entered medicine because I was so fascinated by how incredible the human body was, and that it has this capacity to be constantly healing itself, and it's trying really hard all the time, and we can, through our actions, we can either help or hinder it. And the stem cell research that has been coming out in the last few years has just blown my mind. I qualified 32 years ago, so things were pretty basic back then, like you say. That, I mean, that we only thought stem cells existed in embryos and the cord, as well. And this is a totally fascinating and fast moving field. So I'm so grateful that you're sharing your insights on this. It's really, my mind is buzzing with ideas of where this can be used. So amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely. And, the stem cell field has grown so much that further into my research, we moved away from actually using the cells themselves to using the messengers that are secreted from those stem cells. So these are the new kids in the blog called exosomes. These are extracellular vesicles. There's these lipids that get secreted by these stem cells. So this is the new frontier of where the therapy is going with regenerative medicine, no longer using the cells, but the messengers that come out from the cells. Because we further understood that stem cells, it's not that they physically act as new cells, but they are secreting a message, which is letting your host stem cells, the stem cells that are in your tissues, receive that message and then react to that message. So it's been extremely fascinating to learn about how our body actually works in such a small, we thought exosomes were the garbage that was being secreted from the cells. And now we are saying, oh, they're therapeutic little bubbles that can actually carry specific things. So the future, I really think the future of therapeutics will include exosome therapy with gene modification therapy, with specific protein binding. Like it,
Yeah.
as you were saying, your brain just keeps thinking, how much further can we go and be specific for problems that are also very specific? It won't cure
Sure.
everything. And that is one of the things that I always make a straight fact, right? It is not the cure all be all, and it will help everybody, because a lot of people are looking for hope, but it can definitely change the quality of life of a lot of individuals. Specifically, what I studied is on therapies or in illnesses that had inflammation or an inflammatory compound as a baseline, and those are a lot of issues. So
Sure.
that is the type of research that I did.
Amazing. And like you say, I mean, I think, chronic inflammation is probably the number one cause of most chronic illness that we know of. And so anything that can help reduce that is an exciting prospect going forward. Fantastic. My mind is buzzing, buzzing with ideas. Thank you. And I hadn't heard of these exosomes. I'd seen ads for products mentioning them, but I didn't know what they were. So thank you for filling us all in on that. So tell us, in your medical career, when you were practicing medicine, but also in your career since then, what have been your most major challenges?
Oh, day to day, right? I come from the type of career that I decided, or I was, drawn into. At first, I'm an entrepreneur, so we've set up our own company. I've been in charge of kind of the medical and scientific background of our companies, and this is, as I was saying, a field that did not exist. I learned, I'm going to be graduated from med school in it's going to be 20 years soon. So, 20 years ago, they taught us very, very little about stem cells, and regenerative medicine was not even coined as a field in medicine, right? So
Yeah.
challenges were when there was no there was no roadmap, there was no actual books. Back then, we used to carry, the anatomy book, the physiology book with us. We're 100 years of understanding of what anatomy, the bones, the pediatrics. Those are old school fields of medicine. But my field was being really shaped by all of us who practice that type of research. So challenges were there every day, but I think I thrive at challenges because
Yeah.
that never stopped my team. I always made sure that I was surrounded by the best physician, nurses, research scientific team in everything that I've done, regulatory compliance to the point of there was, because there was not even regulatory before. In Ecuador, we worked with the actual Congress to pass law into effect to understand that we can work with our own stem cells. We're not manipulating, we're not culture expanding. That was in Ecuador. Here, FDA had really clear laws that were getting more coined. So, and that required serious IND to be filed. As I said, 5 INDs were approved under my supervision. So, I always have, I've understood that if you want to do anything in your life, you can definitely go and do it, as long as you play by the rules and you keep advancing. And there was no road, so I had to create one, right? And that was I think a big challenge daily. Yeah, there's so many challenges.
And it sounds like you have a tenacious spirit, which is so necessary to be an entrepreneur. I myself am an entrepreneur, and it's not an easy journey. It is, sometimes some days I think to myself, it would be so much easier if I just had a job. You get given tasks to do, you do the tasks, and then you go home at the end of the day. And being an entrepreneur is not an easy journey, and certainly it has its blessings and its curses. And it sounds like you have the true entrepreneurial spirit, which is necessary to keep going when times are tough, because you must have heard no many, many times during your journey.
A gazillion times. I always say entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart, and our spirits are ready to be crushed on the first failure. And one of my mantras is failure is our driver. You have to learn to love to fail, and also as a scientist, right? You got to keep experimenting, because if you failed with something, you adapt and then you keep going, and you fail again, and it's hard to fail. It's like you feel your heart and your soul crushed, but
Yes.
that just teaches you what you have to do next to not fail the next time. And then projects get bigger, and for me to be able to face FDA and work with FDA was one of the biggest things. I could not believe at those days that we knew we had calls with them. My heart was like, did I get here? How did I even get here, right? And then to receive approval for the trials was fascinating, but it just proved that it can be done, so yep.
Amazing. I love it. And I honestly think most people are not brave enough to do what you've done. I think it's incredible. I'm so glad there are people like you in the world. I'm not sure that I would have the tenacity and the grit to do it. So tell me, we've just been talking about the stresses and challenges that you've faced. Do you have any strategies that you personally employ to deal with the stresses and strains of your busy life and career?
Yeah, I think I was taught to meditate since I was 5 years old, so that has always been like kind of in the back of my head. Techniques of breathing techniques that when you go through life, you kind of start forgetting about them. And I think it was yoga that brought me back into that, reminded me I was a gymnast, so my body can be as flexible as I wanted it to be, even though I was in my 30s when I started practicing again. And it reminded me how important breathing is, how grounding is so important for all of us. You get carried away with your projects, your dreams, those things that you are willing to risk everything for, but then you forget that life only happens right here, right now. And yoga brought me back to that. Exercise for me is my therapy. I always say my church, my therapy, my everything is going to the gym. I started. I would say 13 years ago that I seriously got into the gym, lifting weights for real, and trying to prove to myself and see how much can my body adapt. And I started with very small weight, and now I am. Sometimes I I even scare myself. My parents always call me as like, you should stop with all that weight. I'm like, but I have a trainer, everything is good. So for me
Yeah.
has been like exercise, meditating, breath work, and and that leads me to reminding myself, even in the moments of stress, that I can always take a 5-minute break to breathe, to recenter, refocus, uh, practicing gratitude and understanding where am I, what do I have. As physicians, we get to see, or healthcare providers, I would say, in all, we get to see patients that are going through very, very tough times. You never know what reality is for so many people until you get to actually see the scenarios where everything can go wrong. So
Yeah.
I think we all can definitely spend a minute, 2 minutes on practicing gratitude.
I love that. I love that. That's such wise advice. And I think, I coach physicians and senior executives in companies as well. And so often they, when I encourage them to take a pause, and 2 minutes can be long enough, they will often say to me, I don't have time. And I will say back to them, you don't have time not to. Because if you carry on working in that stressed state, you are going to do everything less well than you would if you took the pause, be it 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you can spare, and reset yourself with, like you said, it could be, it could be mindfulness practice, it could be breathing techniques, it could be doing a quick bit of exercise. I've been seeing a lot on social media the last few days about taking a 2-minute break every hour to do some squats. And not only is it, a good break, but it's also clearly very good for, building up the muscle in your legs as well. So thank you for kind of reinforcing the importance of that pause. And you can do whatever you like in it, but it's really important to take it. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing
I
that.
feel like humans don't realize how fragile your health is. We take it for granted, right?
Yeah.
And there's extremely busy executives, and I can put myself sometimes in those shoes, that I'm just, running in cortisol because that is what the projects demand. But it takes a millisecond to have a heart attack, and then the rest of your life is
Yeah.
gone. A stroke, and or an accident that you didn't even plan, right? Uh, and what is there then, right? So I
Yeah.
really think it is better, as I said, preventative medicine, right? Do the preventative actions that you can do to be
Yes.
in a better shape every day.
I completely agree. And there's a wonderful expression that says, a healthy man has 1,000,000 wishes, an unhealthy man has only one.
Only one.
And man or woman. And you are so right. And I think, like we mentioned earlier, that the human body has this remarkable capacity to heal itself, but you can only push it too far. It only has so much reserve. My kind of the area of specialty is brain health, and the brain is amazing. It has this amazing capacity to cope with all sorts of things,
Yeah.
but it has a limit to it. And, once
Yeah.
you reach the edge of your cognitive reserve, then your body is going to force you to pay attention. But it's like that. It's like that in the whole of the body as well. And I think, so many people when they are well are very complacent about their health and they don't do the preventative stuff. It's so much easier to be lazy about things like exercise, which takes time. Let's face it. Exercise, preparing home cooked food, healthy meals takes more time than sitting on your butt all day and eating takeout. But in the long run, it has huge benefits for your health. And we're on the same page. Prevention is everything.
Yeah. And the thing
Yeah.
that we don't know, or a lot of young adults don't see, is what happens in your later decades of life, right? Where your body already cannot regenerate as much as it was in your
Yeah.
30s, 40s, 50s, where, you're accustomed, you're like pushing to the limit and you say, I'm still going. I encourage everybody to go see older adults and how they are doing right now. More and more for women, I am a very big advocate for women, and us understanding if we can between the 20s, 30s get a lifestyle with lifting weights, that will increase our chances of not dying with any. There's so many things, but your
Yeah.
bones start decreasing, your muscles start decreasing, and therefore your osteoporosis, osteopenia, and your bones will crack. Your
Yeah.
accident, a small little accident, will take you into repercussions that can be prevented if you were just a little, if you included a little bit of lifting weights and eating a little bit more whole foods into your diet, but make it into your lifestyle. So when you get to
Yes.
the 70s, 80s, 90s, you can continue doing that. So it's not like now what? I can't
Yes.
start. No, you can always start, right? That's another thing that people then say, no, I'm so old. This is never going to work for me. You can always start at any age to do preventative medicine.
Totally agree. I love that. Isn't it interesting how, muscle mass and weightlifting, I don't know, maybe the last couple of years, it's become very kind of trendy, but it's all backed by research. And, muscle mass, especially in women, which declines significantly after menopause, is like you mentioned, has a dramatic association with falls. And when a person has a fall and then breaks a bone, sometimes it is the start of a rapid decline in their health that they may never recover from. And
Yeah,
so,
the
yeah.
percentages associated with death after a hip fracture, which is the ones that usually happen, it's 1 year. So that's very dramatic. And if you don't have the strength to recover for something like that, knowing that falls are those accidents that you can be super stable until you have that one unfortunate accident. So yeah, I mean,
Yes.
there's so many things that we can do preventative to ensure that our body has the best way to keep healing even until the end. So
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Tell me, do you have any advice for a younger person in healthcare, or even, gosh, it could even be somebody my age? It's funny, I have a couple of friends three friends actually in the UK. So I'm 56 now, so they're the same age as me. They are taking early retirement, but they want to do other things. So this is advice for everybody. Somebody in healthcare who has an entrepreneurial idea. Do you have any advice for those people? Because it can seem pretty daunting.
I will quote Nike, just do it. I think the scariest thing for all of us when our new projects is how, when, what I'm going to do, how many months, what I'm going to require. But we don't take that first step. And
Yes.
that first step of doing it is the most important one, because if you show up every single day, and it doesn't matter how big the project is, I think we all are so unique and our gift to the world is so important. We are all required to be in this earth and we have a gift. Some people say, no, I don't do anything. I just follow instructions, as you were saying, and just get paid and that's it. But we all have something special that we can gift. And more if you already are in that entrepreneurial area, right? Like, meaning that you already, something sparked in your brain and you're like, hey, this might sound like a good idea, but you are the biggest one that's holding yourself back. So the suggestion is always like, just do it. Just put one brick at a time. And it's hard. We're not going to sugarcoat this one.
Absolutely. And I think, drawing on something you said earlier, we've got this first step, which is to just do it. And then drawing on what you said earlier, I think another piece of advice that you gave earlier that I want to remind people of is you are going to fail many times, and see those failures as an opportunity to learn and grow. Don't see them as being terminal. They're just more data.
Yes, I have a beautiful painting that I saw on a street market one day, and it says "Dare to Fail." It's an elephant on a little hanging line, a cord. He is over a bowl, and he is on top of this. It's like one of the most incredible scenarios. You know that is not going to hold much, but it just says "Dare to Fail," and that is my, as I said, is my mantra. I think society has taught us to fear failure when all we have to be learning every day is that failure is part of growing. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that wisdom. So tell me, do you have 3 pieces of advice that everybody could kind of implement into their lives in order to be healthy and to live their best lives?
Wow. Yes. If you add more colorful whole foods into your life, the easiest way, you don't have to buy supplements that are expensive. You don't have to buy these packages that are loaded with powders that are expensive. It's as simple as adding the rainbow to your life. So if you can just write every single day what colors of the rainbow you ate that day, it is one of the simplest, easiest things that you can do to improve your lifespan, actually, and your everyday health. And why? I'm a physician scientist, so I'm going to give you the spiel of why. Adding colors from fruits and veggies, which are the ones that come in different colors, right, will increase your vitamins, minerals, and all your micro. People focus usually on the macros, your fats, your proteins, your carbohydrates. We all get all of those. The what we need, the percentages that we need every day, believe me, if you're watching this, you have technology, you have access to actually food, right? But what you are forgetting about is the micros, oligo elements, all of the smaller little components that compact in fruits and veggies. Don't be scared about the sugar in the fruit. Nobody has gone diabetic for eating lots of fruits. It's one of the biggest scams that is out there. This is actually backed by science. So adding colors from all of the rainbows, what are the colors of the rainbows that you added today will definitely increase your gut health, because your bacteria, your microbiome eats fiber. They don't eat what we eat. They eat fiber, insoluble fiber. And that comes only from plants. So nuts, seeds, veggies, roots, you name any single different plant available, fruits are what is going to feed your microbiome. And your microbiome is either anti-inflammatory or pro-inflammatory. And your gut-brain health is completely linked. All of this is backed by science, right? So
yeah,
eat more colorful anything. Be next time you go to the grocery store, go pick those veggies or those fruits that you've looked at them and you're being like, I don't know about that. Pick them. Choose one. Make them different throughout the weeks. The other big advice would be, again, it doesn't cost anything. Nobody is going to sell you a subscription for it. Increase your water intake. I mean, it's supposed to be inherently simple, but people forget to hydrate, right? And there's so many. There's so many. But the third would be find some physical activity. Doesn't require a gym membership. Again, no money has to be included in this package. Just walking and going outside and taking a 10-minute, 15-minute walk from you never doing it can impact so much. Again, your microbiome, your brain actually grows as you start walking. So, and I am Latina, so I love to dance. There's a lot of people that enjoy music. Just put in a 5-minute song, meaning those are 2 songs, your favorite 2 songs that allowed you to dance in your living room. Does not require any money to spend, and not even that much time either, right? Because those 2 songs are going to transition into 3 and 4 eventually. And just dancing and moving your body. We are animals and we're designed to have some kind of physical movement. So start doing those if you forgot to do it. And it's never too late, right? So either walking, and we're also different. I hate to say everybody go walk, everybody go do yoga. We are also different. We like different things, but moving is a requirement.
Perfect. I think that is absolutely fantastic. I particularly love the dancing piece. Like everybody has a favorite 2 songs, and it's such a simple, easy thing. And I think you get all the good neurochemicals being released when you're dancing and having fun and bringing a smile to your face as well. So I love that addition to your list. So thank you. So tell us, where can people find you, and is there anything that you're working on right now that you'd love to tell us about?
My website, dr-mari.com. I am very active on 2 social medias, which are Instagram and LinkedIn. And the handle is @Mari-Mitrani, my name. And you'll find there my published research, some of the interviews, some of the podcasts. I hope this one will go out soon. And what am I working on right now? I'm right now transitioning into a world that I would love to see, which is improving the health of women and minorities. So I am collaborating with different projects, and soon I'll be releasing, the news of what I'm collaborating with. And open right now and super ready to collaborate with anybody that wants to focus on that. One of the biggest projects that I am loving is really impacting the understanding, education of women in an older, right? Going into perimenopause and menopause. Women don't understand how we have been underrepresented in research, and therefore we don't know. We think we are crazy. We think we just lost it. We think that we're forgetful because we're just old. It's old, a hormonal imbalance that can be treated so easily, and that we don't have to suffer in silence. There has been so much stigma around perimenopause and menopause, and it's time to start advocating for women to understand first what's happening with them, and therefore they can do their work with their OBGs or with physicians that understand how they can improve their quality of life.
Amazing. Well, I will follow and keep a lookout for what comes next. You are an amazing woman, an amazing physician, an amazing scientist, and I'm sure you're going to do many more amazing things in the world. So we look forward to hearing what is next, and also learning more about what you're already doing. You've blown my mind with all the stem cell stuff. So thank you. Thank you. So Dr. Mari Mitrani, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. It has been an absolute delight to have you on the show.
Thank you so much to Mindful Medics, to you, Dr. Rhodes, to your whole team. I really appreciate your time, and everybody that's listened. Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to all our viewers and listeners for tuning in. Please share this podcast with any friends or colleagues who you think might benefit. And finally, I wish you a happy, healthy, abundant rest of your day. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.